Hey everybody, hope you guys are all doing well. Here's our first little video for government. We're going to try and chunk this up as small as we can for you guys, make sure it's not too much to ask to get so much material outside the class day, okay? So for this playlist of videos, right, we'll look at the history of the Constitution itself, some of the big ideas that are there, and the idea of federalism, okay? So here's our first little chunk we're looking at. What is the Constitution, right? We talk about this document we have and how big a deal it is, and they make movies about, people trying to steal it, all that kind of stuff. So what is it? Well, a Constitution is not laws, number one, okay? It is a basic set of principles and ideas that the state can do. Think of it as like the framework or the rules for government. It is essentially like how the government is supposed to be. It's kind of like their playbook or their guidebook, right, as to how they're supposed to run. So really, it's the rules for government and how they're supposed to do their job. And so there's a really big balancing act we're trying to do. The balancing act here is going to be the question of how do we balance two things. The first thing we're trying to balance are people's personal rights, the things you have over your own body, your life, your property, all that kind of stuff. What kind of things you do, you have, you own, all those kind of things, okay? And that's one of the first parts we're looking at here. After that, it's the general welfare. How do we protect everybody? And especially if people try to take away other people's rights. We talk about like your right to life, basically right to live, right? Well, you know, if people do certain things, it hurts the idea of right to live, like, murdering people or even things like driving, right? If I want to drive, 95 miles an hour down Madison Street here in Sauk City, I can do that, but I'm hurting the general welfare. If I hit somebody or cause an accident, somebody might get hurt. I talk about your right to speech, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you have your right to speech, opinion, but you can't sit and like threaten people, right? And I'm gonna beat people up, I'm gonna hurt somebody, that kind of thing. And so we're trying to balance those personal rights with the general welfare of the public. And so we take this idea here a little bit further. Think of this as an agreement, okay? It's a deal between the government and the people. So the government is going to protect the rights of the citizens, okay? Ensure that by creating and enforcing laws, they're not going to take away anything from people. It's the big things, all right? So the rights are these inalienable things that all citizens have, right? Your right to life, live how you want, as long as you don't take weather, right? That kind of stuff. Express yourself, right to education, liberty, you be able to move and travel, practice your own religion, express yourself. Your property, your pursuit of happiness, right? Own your own stuff. See your own potential, apply for jobs, have your speech and assembly rules, all those kind of things. And so those are the things that the government cannot take away from you. At the same time, people will give away some extreme rights and say, hey, government, I get it. For you to protect everybody's rights, we're going to give away certain things, okay? We're also going to agree then to do other things, all right? Number one, as part of this agreement, we're going to serve on juries, okay? We're going to be on a jury that if somebody gets in trouble and somebody's being tried for a crime, we're going to help decide if they're guilty or innocent. We're going to vote. So by voting, we're going to decide who is our government, who's making these laws. That's our way of giving consent. If I vote for somebody, I'm giving consent for them to make those laws. I'm picking them, basically. We're going to obey the law. We're going to make sure we follow those rules and follow those laws, help our community, respect our authority figures, and potentially protect the nation in time of danger. So if something's going on, we may serve in the military or help a war effort, those kind of things. So really, in our history, right, we had a Revolutionary War, fought that whole thing. We had a government called the Articles of Confederation. Now, we were really scared of too much power. We fought that war about taxes and tyranny, all that kind of stuff. So we make this document, right? Problem is that it does not do a very good job. We have all kinds of money problems. We can't, one thing that they say is they can't make taxes for this Articles of Confederation government. So a lot of soldiers who took IOUs for their service in the Revolutionary War, now they can't get paid. U.S. also owed money to other countries like France, and so there's lots of problems here, especially economically in the country. Well, we have a convention then in Philadelphia in 1787. 55 dudes from 12 states get together. Rhode Island's one state doesn't send anybody. They decide, hey, let's revise the Articles of Confederation. Well, instead of revising and changing them, they write brand new ones because they're like, you know what? These things are too trash. We can't do anything with them. Let's make something better. And so we create this Constitution. Some agree, some don't, some sign it, some don't. Anyway. And then we get to a part called ratification. Then the states actually had to agree to this Constitution. And so, like I said, looking at our big problem here, we have this document because we had Articles of Confederation. And it wasn't strong enough, right? It only had a very weak legislative branch. It had no president. It had no courts. Everyone only had one vote. One state each had one vote. And the states didn't have to pay federal taxes. They didn't have to provide people for the military. It was very, very weak. It's almost too democratic to function, I call it. And so when they met, they decided to rework it, start over with what is now our modern day Constitution. And here are 4 big ideas they brought into our Constitution, make sure that everything was taken care of. They wanted a limited government. So basically, even though the government was going to be stronger, they wanted limits on what it can do. They wanted to ensure that the government could not take away people's rights. So the Constitution says what the government can and cannot make laws about. The idea of republicanism is in here, that people can vote for their leaders. Okay, we're going to pick who our leaders are. You also have the separation of powers. We're going to make sure that we have 3 different groups that have different powers. So we're going to divide the power up so no one group gets too powerful. And lastly, we're going to make sure that we divide our power between our big federal government and our states. That's called federalism, and a way to break these ideas up. We'll get more into this as we go through our video series. I thank you guys for checking this out. And go ahead and click the next video or take a little break and take a little bit. Thanks a lot, guys. You're awesome.